Joining me this morning is Ken Johnson, the General Manager of GreatWave Communications. Welcome, Ken.
Morning, Pat.
How you doing?
Good.
Good, good. We wanted to have Ken on, and actually he requested to be on, to explain the situation with AML Live, and so this is his forum, so turn it over to you, Ken.
Well, and I'm sure Pat's relieved because he's been hitting up on the questions about it and on the air and other things, and that's fine. But I definitely wanted to get out in front of the issue as quickly as I could. So what I want to do is back up and first explain, for the average person, my job and my role. I use two titles, General Manager or CEO. CEO when I'm trying to impress somebody, General Manager when they know what reality is. But my role in the corporate, and Conneaut Telephone, GreatWave Communications, we are a corporation. So there's a there's shareholders that own the company, a board of directors, and then the board of directors retain a CEO or a general manager to run the day-to-day operations. But in a pure sense, the role of the GM or the CEO is strategy. So, it's not the board of directors that sits there and as a committee and says, this is where we think we want to go. That's really my responsibility. And then the board of directors' job is to vet that out, sanity check it, if you will, and make sure it makes sense, that it's a sound approach. And they kind of are the backseat drivers as I'm going, making key approvals along the way as we go. So the fact that I'm responsible for strategy means I'm the guy who's intellectually, 3 to 5 years out ahead of where the company is today. Now, you take somebody like Chris Siebenik or Donnie Zappatelli, they're actually involved in the day-to-day business. A wire gets hit, there's an outage, a lightning strike, they're fixing those issues, or if we've sold a product to a new customer, they're out hooking it up, making it work. I'm not doing those kind of things normally day to day. I'm negotiating the next thing, I'm engineering and researching the next thing. So what that means is I'm always the agent of change. So, I've heard it from those in the community is, well, that Ken Johnson guy is always up to something. Well, that means I'm doing my job. And, there was a lot of consternation when we started AM Live to begin with. I had people calling me mad because, to be frank, after some of the things that went on with the radio show, there were a few people in town that wanted Pat unemployed and gone. And then when they found out he surfaced on our television broadcast, they weren't happy and letting me know. So, but as much as I was the agent of change to start the show and subsidize it, unfortunately I also get to be the guy who says, hey, we got to do something a little bit different. So in many ways, I'm kind of like, the OBGYN delivering the baby, but also the undertaker a lot of times. For the same baby, So here's the reality with AM Live. I met with Pat about 2 weeks ago, and the meeting went like this. I said, Pat, listen.
1 week ago.
Was it a week ago?
Yeah, last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday? That quick. Huh. Seems like forever.
Yeah.
So we met, and I said, Pat, listen. I've made promises to people out south that they're going to get fiber optics and cable TV, and we've got a couple other opportunities for growth. And when I look at the grand scheme of things, and after receiving the company financials this year, after our audit and reviewing the numbers, it was time for me to make some choices. And I want to be able to deliver on those promises and continue to grow revenues, because we all know the telephone industry is not what it used to be. We've done a great job of transitioning away from that, but there's still some work to be done. And we want to keep making moves, but they're like baby steps because it costs a lot of money. So when I sat back and looked at the revenue that our sponsors and advertisers pay versus the amount of payroll that we incur, what the net benefit is, I started to look at, okay, what if I were to be very aggressive and pare the company back could I free up enough money over the winter doing some savings to really come out in the spring with the splash, or maybe after the first of the year do some work out in Bushnell while we can't be doing the underground thing. We could be hanging fiber on poles. And we've done a couple of tests. All the electronics are in place, but I'm really frustrated that I can't ever seem to get enough pool of money to go build out there for 6 months at a time and say we're going to do these 5 streets no matter what it costs. We just haven't been in that position. So again, as the agent of change, and I'm pretty callous from people yelling at me and being mad because I change stuff on them, but it made the most sense. And so I sat back and looked at the landscape. So I mentioned to Pat this. I said, Pat, I want to turn my focus to our core business and put every dollar into that and start delivering on some of these promises that I just can't seem to get to. So we produce the show in cooperation with the Cable Advisory Board. That's the only reason we're on Channel 6 or 19. We could not be there if if the Cable Advisory Board did not permit and sanction that. So I told Pat, it's not for me to kill the show per se, but I'm just going to be unable to write the paychecks to everybody that's involved in the show to continue to subsidize it. So I encouraged Pat to talk to the sponsors of the show, to the advertisers, and those that appear on the show, and see if maybe he wanted to make a business out of it himself. It would be very labor intensive, and frankly, out of the revenues of the show, it may not work. Pat just kind of looked at me and said, I really don't have a desire to do that. It's probably time to hang up my cleats. So, I told him to contact, those that appear on the show and some of the sponsors and maybe his guest hosts, and let them know that it was kind of on the outs. I asked Pat to take the weekend to think about it and let me know on Monday or Tuesday if he wanted to try to make a go of it or something, and we'd see how we could help. Because the studio's here, the equipment's here. It's just a matter of who's writing the paycheck. Pat and I exchanged emails over the weekend, and he said, nah, I'm really not interested in taking on that risk. And so I had talked with Bob Lebzelder, who has, filled in for Pat when he's been off recently, and Bob is a little, he's not completely sold on it, but yet he's not completely dismissed it. So last night I met with the Cable Advisory Board, and we talked both, and that's also where football kind of gets caught up in the wash is, I started putting my plans, getting out my pencil, doing my calculations, and looking at the landscape of our business and trying to figure out how to get to the number that I needed. And it became clear that the media portions of the company, the stuff the news reporting we do on Facebook, the AM live show, football, and some of the other specialty video stuff was the most non-germane part of the business. And there's a decent amount of cost associated with that on a monthly basis. So that made the most sense that goes first. So that decision was made before the football game, but obviously it takes a little bit of time to work through the process, notify people, and then in the case of this show, again, I did not believe I had the authority to just say, okay, it's off the air, too bad. I really believed I had an obligation to the community and to the Cable Advisory Board to slowly work my way to the center of the circle. And it's not always easy to communicate to everybody. I like to communicate face to face, so I'm not going to send Pat an email and say, oh, by the way, I'm not going to write your paycheck after the end of the month. I want to sit face to face. So sometimes it takes a while to do that. So, but that's why football went by the wayside, at least from us. Now, the good news is last night, I think, Mike Bertone and Mike Jocelyn were at the meeting, and it sounds like they've got an alternative. And maybe if that doesn't work out, there's still Alan Monanen might have a way that we can continue to have the football broadcast. But that was another case where when that started, really only one of our people were paid to be there on Friday night. Last year, the whole broadcast was paid employees of Conneaut Telephone. And again, when I'm making promises to people out south and I can't build fiber optic cables, I'm really, I lack the credibility when I'm spending money for 3 people to be, videotaping a broadcast for which we generate realistically no income. So it just really now is a good time. And I kind of liken it, Pat, to, you see those cop shows where the guys show up and knock on the door, nobody answers. Like, this is the police, open up. And they don't open up, and then they bang with their shoulder. And then what do? They step back about 3 or 4 steps and get a running start. Wham. So what you're seeing out of me, and you're going to hear more about the company, is me backing way up, trying to pool as much revenue as I possibly can so that we can pop through that door and get the stuff done that I want to get done to modernize our network and to make sure that this company is in very good posture for the next decade. So unfortunately, like I say, it really comes down to, I know the cable advisory is, we've added around probably half a dozen different options for continuing the show last night. So I'm encouraged that those conversations will continue. I question whether the show will stay around for a long time if it's mostly on a volunteer basis. Because anytime you volunteer for something, it's really exciting at the beginning. And the longer you do it without reward, the less, over time you just get ready for something else.
I did get a phone call last night from one of the advisory board members, and he explained what happened during that meeting to extent, really. And that was discussed, the volunteer situation. And he said that, look, if you're going to volunteer, like Ken said, you have to be committed to this. And it's not an easy chore. So apparently the way I took it from my conversation with him, it's still up in the air. It's not really anything was finalized at that stage.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was more, I think they wanted to know where I was coming from. I owed them an official face-to-face dialogue on the topic. Again, I didn't want them getting it out of the rumor mongering. And I had talked via phone with Martha Sorahan, the secretary of the Cable Advisory Board, on Monday. Kind of gave her a heads up and said, really won't be ready to talk officially until Tuesday afternoon, and definitely want to talk to Cable Advisory before we make any more, pronouncements. So that's kind of where we are. The other thing I want people to understand is most people think that the show is a positive, great thing with no downsides. And that's not entirely true. Like I say, when the show first started, I was not aware of some of the infighting in town that kind of congregated around the radio show prior to coming. So when we launched the show, I was just like, woohoo, this is fun. Pat's a known commodity, newspaper, radio, whatever. And the next week I got phone calls from angry people. I will never do business with the phone company again because you put that Pat Williams on the air. Now, I'm not the type of guy to be bullied, and I felt like, they weren't even giving me a chance to exercise control of the show, so I told them I thought that was unfortunate. I presented a few arguments that I thought proved their point irrational, and I think by and large, the show has stayed on mostly high ground, but there have been a couple occasions over the years where unfortunately you get 2 opposing sides that both want to use the show as their platform, and then when neither gets the opportunity, then they're mad at me because I just refused for this show to be the battleground about whether we're voting for a school levy or we're not. Then you have other times where somebody might write in criticizing city council, and then maybe Pat reads the letter and then I'm not happy about it, and then we're spending 6 hours in meetings talking about it, and there are a lot of negatives that go with it from my perspective. So I'm a little bit tired, and like I say, more than anything, I mean, the show's really been on a really good cusp. I think maybe in the last 3 years we had one controversy internally, and I thought we did what we could to work through that. So and all really since spring, I've been so busy I haven't been able to get over here and bore people for a long time. But it really comes down at this point. My desire is to deliver on what I want to do out in Bushnell. The electronics are sitting in the building. We have one customer that we built about a mile of fiber, hooked them up, and it's smoking awesome. And it's just frustrating to me that I can't get, I mean, it takes about $1,000 per customer to get the electronics and all the materials that we need to light them up. And so if I'm going to do 10 customers in a month, I got to have $10,000. If I want to do 20 customers, well, you can do the math. So, and I don't want to go out there and do 3 a month, you know, and then have people, well, my next door neighbor has it, why can't I have it? You know, so this to me is the best approach. Let's just make some difficult choices, pull back, get the money pooled up, and then let's go play. So that's what we're going to do. It'll probably be 4 to 5 months before we start, you know, really spending anything out there. And you know, and you're going to hear more about it in the community. I mean, I've already worked with our union workforce to do a furlough package to save some costs there. They're, you know, like with the media part of the company, there's a couple of employees that I've talked to that are going to be on layoff for the winter. So yeah, I've made my decision, and I'm not going to do it in half measures. We're going for it, and so I think it's time. So that's the decision I've made, and you know, hopefully the community can understand. But like I say, we're going to try to be as helpful as possible. If Bob Lebzelder or somebody at the Cable Advisory wants to keep the show afloat, I'm not opposed to being an advertiser or a sponsor. You know, I like to come on here and talk for hours at a time. So we may be motivated to do that. We just cannot subsidize 100% of the show.
Okay. And the phone line was ringing, Ken.
Yep, it is now.
Yeah, there it goes. Okay. Hi, you're on the air.
Hi, Pat. Hi, Ken.
Good morning.
You're talking about going out to Bushnell. You haven't even got service out Furnace Road, Middle Road. I don't even know about Dermot Road.
Well,
You're
when
talking about going out.
Well, let me clarify. When I say Bushnell, what I really mean is anybody that does not have access to our cable TV service today. So really, it's in town. It's really Bailey Road between Furnace and Middle, you know, and then south of the creek on Route 7 down by Hagstrom's there. From there all the way south, all of that is what I'm talking about. And we do have the fiber optic cables in place for Furnace Road. We have the fiber optic cables in place for Center Road. And but the way we're building the system, some of the people are going to be served out of Bushnell reaching back towards town. Other people will be served out of the in-town area going south. And some of that's completely undecided yet. But again, we're just not, we've been changing some of the products, so we haven't been ready to really go make a splash. So when I mention Bushnell, anybody today that does not have access to our cable TV product, I'm talking about all of those people being included. And that's about 1,000 customers.
Okay, I have a, you guys went to, you know, you ran your service all the way along Route 20 to Ashtabula.
Right.
Why was that a priority in comparison to the people that didn't have your service in Conneaut?
Well, here's a simple answer. One is the money that paid for that was paid by about $1 million of that construction was paid out of grant money and by other providers that bought some of the route from us. And those grant monies were dedicated for that purpose alone. So I couldn't really use it for anything else. The other issue with it is the customers that we've hooked up along that route. Well, let me put it this way. If I build fiber optic cables south in Conneaut, every customer we sign up, the revenue is going to be about $125 per month. Most of the customers that we're hooking up on the fiber that we built to Ashtabula is about $1,000 per month. So it's the pure economics. And what I explain to people a lot of times is, because I've always gotten that question since I've been GM, is man, you're out. I mean, we actually have customers on fiber in Ashtabula, Geneva on the Lake, Jefferson, and they're like, well, hey, you know, you're hooking those people up. You don't care about Conneaut. But I have to remind them that basically what I'm doing is playing a little bit of Robin Hood, because the more $1,000 a month people that I get in the Ashtabula, Geneva, Jefferson areas, the less we have to keep coming back to you to pay more for the products. So those customers in those outlying areas are typically paying more for the same products, and because of that, that's trickling back. And the other thing that I'm doing is those customers are actually paying for their own upgrades. So when we started doing telephone service in Ashtabula, I had already booked a number of businesses that were going to pay us over $10,000 per month to hook up the service. So then we were able to make the investment. So realistically, when I hook up people in Conneaut, it's coming out of our pocket. When we're hooking up people outside of Conneaut, it's coming out of their pocket. So, and most of those are businesses. So, you know, there's just a difference in the business case. So it looks like that's all I care about. But that's where I say now, it really, because we're paying out of our pocket for anybody in Conneaut that's not connected, I need to make sure we have more in our pocket so that we can get a consistent move. And once we start, I don't want to stop. I want to be able to just keep going. So that's the backdrop. Does that make sense?
Then, just one other question in regards to Pat.
Okay.
Is it you're looking for Pat to volunteer his services, not be paid for them? You're talking about Lepzeller. Is that going to be a volunteer thing, like you wanted Pat to do?
No, I never asked Pat to volunteer. What I told Pat was there are sponsors, there are people that pay to appear on the show. What I'm going to do is stop being the guy that writes the checks for all the labor that produces the show. If you would like to continue, then any of the advertising money would just go to you. But the question is there enough of that for Pat or Bob? Is there enough money from that to equal what the company's been paying? And is it worth it if he now has to be the sales rep, the bill collector, and all those other things that the company always did? And frankly, that's a lot of work. And even if the advertiser said, yeah, we're willing to ante up, what if they don't pay for 3 months? You know, there's significant risk in that. So I've never asked anybody to volunteer. All I've said is I want to put the company's money to different uses. And the other thing that exists is, in the early days, the show was supposed to be very, very, very cheap to produce. But we've gotten more sophisticated over time. You get, you know, the hospitals come in and need a little more production quality. You want multiple camera angles, so now we're paying somebody to produce. So the cost just got, you know, beyond it. And then it's real difficult to produce the same show and basically tell Pat, hey, all the resources you've relied upon to make the show better, and we're going to take all those away and go right back to day one. It's just difficult. And again, if I'm going to do this pullback, I don't believe in half measures. It's, okay, let's go for it. You know, because it's, you know, it's going to cause a rift either way. So I'm just going to put my blinders on and make the best business decision possible. But so what I did was talk to the cable advisory. If you have volunteers that want to continue the show, great. Or if there's somebody that's willing to do it and take the advertising money and that's good enough for them, that's great. They can use the studio, they can use the equipment, we'll work it out. Just I'm not writing the paychecks for anybody involved with the show.
Okay. Thanks,
all right.
Ken.
Yep. Thank you. Good questions.
All right. Ask Ken why we're having such problem with the internet connections. I've considered switching over to another service, paying for internet, and it's constantly losing connections. It's been happening for 2 months or more. I've called to have it looked at, and no one has come out. For example, yesterday I had no internet all day, but today I do. Who knows if I will have it tomorrow? I work from home, so I need the internet. I have to connect to mobile hotspots through my cell phone, which I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
which uses my cell phone data and gives
Sure,
me extra
sure.
charges.
Would you reply to them and give them my email so that I can figure out why nobody's going out there? Because they should be coming out. Now, if this individual is out in the Bushnell area, here's a problem we're running into. Why? And again, when I say Bushnell, I mean anybody south of 90. Because we've got people even on Center Road by Kmart. The problem is we're using a technology there because we don't have the cable modems called ADSL. And what that is a high-speed service using the copper wires that you use for the voice service. The problem is we try to up the speeds on that. It's kind of like turning up the volume on your TV, if you will. And then what ends up happening in the equipment hut, when you've got all the volume up on all these customers, now people start to hear bleed over. Like at my office, every once in a while, somebody will drive by with a two-way radio, and while I'm listening to a video on my computer, I'll hear a cell phone conversation or something like, "Yeah, we gotta go to North Kingsville," real quick. So imagine that happening, and then all of a sudden they're fighting each other, and you really can't understand anything. So that's where we're running into issues south of 90 with people that, if 2 or 3 people have really high speed in a given area, and maybe they're 2 miles away from the office, that we're starting to see some of those compounding issues, which is why I want to get fiber out there. That solves all those problems. So, but I'd be interested to know whether that's a cable modem or a DSL issue. So I'll follow up with you via email.
Okay, that has been sent, and to that lady that emailed that column, I gave you the email address for Ken, so give him a call.
We'll follow up on that.
All right, 593-7181 as we head towards the 8 o'clock hour, and you're on the air.
Morning.
I have computer issues also, and I also have telephone.
Okay.
I did tell somebody in the office, and somebody was supposed to come down a couple of times, but they never showed up.
Really? Well, that is not acceptable. My direct line at the office is 593-7151. If you wouldn't mind, when we hang up here, if you'd call over there and leave me a voicemail to that effect, let me get followed up on that.
And I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
What was the number again you gave me?
593-7151. That goes right to my desk.
And then it'll set off I have a home security.
Your phone's cutting out now, Carol.
Yeah.
You there?
Yeah.
Well, I have a home security system, and every time the phone will go off, that'll set off that thing ringing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It goes off, the phone will go off in the middle of the night. I mean, and it's been doing this for probably a few months now.
Really? All right, well, we'll have to take a look at that for you.
Give him a call and leave a message, Carol.
Okay, thank you.
Hon. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, 7:57 as we head towards 8 o'clock hour. Talking here with Ken Johnson, the general manager of Conneaut Telephone. Well, I keep calling it Conneaut Telephone. GreatWave.
Well, it still is Conneaut Telephone. GreatWave is just a DBA, so the corporation is still Conneaut Telephone. So nothing incorrect about that statement.
Hi, you're on the air.
Morning, Pat. Yeah, this is Earl.
Hi, Earl.
Hey, just wanted you, let me mute this thing here. Just wanted you to know that it's been a real pleasure having you as the MC for that program, and you've done a great job, had lots of laughs, got a lot of information, and it's just a shame that, as I would say, GreatWave has to get rid of a good thing. He talks about a lot of complaints from people about this or that, but I'll tell you what, there's a lot more people out here that enjoyed your program than there are the ones that complain. You have complaints about everything. But I also would like to say that it's too bad that, you have to build your company on the backs of your employees and people like Pat. You furloughed the guys that work for you have to take, 15, 16 days off so you can make your company that much stronger. But it's too bad it has to be done on the backs of your employees. I don't know how much you give up from your salary.
Well, I tell you, every time let me tell you this, every time I've asked the workforce to furlough, I have either matched or exceeded the sacrifice that they have. And I'll also tell you this, we have every year when it comes to payroll, we have a study that we get that's there to index wages. And our workforce, the ones that are furloughed right now, almost position by position make about 10,000 more per year than the national average. And my position is way off of that. I don't make the national average. So, you know, and the other thing about it is, because this is a great conversation, is when you mention about, okay, you're going to grow the company on the backs of the employees. What I'm doing is, in fact, ensuring that their jobs are going to be there 10 years from now. And there's story after story of business in this county where they just put blinders on and just kept doing the same old thing the same old way, and were afraid of some short-term sacrifices that were required for them to move the company forward. And, you know, I'm proud to say that the whole furlough point was that I didn't have to lay anybody off, because according to our union agreement, I can walk in any day of the week and eliminate any position I want completely, and they have no recourse. But what I did was say, hey, I want to keep all of your jobs. They still have a traditional pension. I said, you know, if you want to hold on to that, we still do 100% paid medical coverage. Who does that anymore? So my conversation with them was, I can lay some of you off, or I'm willing to negotiate with you on a furlough package so we can keep everybody's jobs, get to the other side of this initiative, get more revenue coming in, and then we go back to normal. So I think that's a reasonable approach. And like it or not, every employee is going to be, our livelihood is going to come, but I like to use the metaphor of the golden goose. We got to keep the golden goose healthy, then we can get the eggs. And if we try to keep squeezing eggs out and don't think about the health of the golden goose, eventually she's going to die, and then where are we going to be? So short-term sacrifice to save jobs and benefits, to me that's a wise move. And we'll find out over time. But that's the strategy.
Well, I've got to agree with the lady that called in about your service. I also have the same problem.
Where are you located, Earl?
Turn around, I'm not getting the thing drops out, and I said, now what's wrong?
Earl, where are you located?
GreatWave's problem, or is it? I have to reboot the thing to get it to start working again. So,
yeah, I can't answer the specifics on that simply because I don't work in the operations side. What I need to know is, you know, the area. Then I would need to talk with the technical staff. You know, I'm assuming it's nothing system-wide, or, you know, I trust that our people would have let me know. But, you know, it could be something in the area. Sometimes it comes down to, you know, changing the wires in the house a little bit, or just buying a new modem. But I wouldn't know just, you know, hearing it cursory. So, you know, you could send an email to Pat, and he can forward that on to me, and we'll get that in the queue for somebody to look at.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much longer Pat will be there, but
he'll be here the rest of the day.
Bought another new one, but it still does the same thing. And going back to you, Pat, you've been a good friend over the years. I think the company's making a big mistake. I hope that there was some way that you could stay on there. And on behalf of the citizens of Conneaut, it's been a pleasure knowing you personally and having you on the show, because I told you and Ken both, without Pat Williams, AM Live is not AM Live. So, Pat, I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Earl.
Hope to see you sometime, and appreciate knowing you.
Thank you very much, Earl. Appreciate that. Joining us right now with us, Ken and I, is Penny Armini.
Yeah, it was getting a little bit dark, so we decided to add a little feminine beauty and
I
pick
wish.
the thing up.
I wish.
Hi, you're on the air. Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to let you know that when you're talking with a caller,
Mm-hmm.
let them finish talking because they're not able to hear you talk. For instance, when Earl was talking, Ken kept asking him a question, where are you located, where are you located? I don't think he could understand Ken saying that at all. It's close to the lake.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just concerned in a conversation.
Ferry Road area.
I was just concerned when I'm at a, with a customer on the phone like that, if I let it get a couple sentences in without jumping in and getting an answer to that question, then I'm afraid I'm going to not come back to it. And I don't know if you guys hate this when you watch like a presidential debate and they ask a question and they never answer it. So I try to be razor focused on answering specifically each question asked. So sometimes I do that. I don't mean to be rude, but what I'm trying to do is be attentive to that specific piece of information and get it before we get too much further.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
She was in and out. Sometimes cell phones are in and out. Well, before another caller, it's Thursday, so I just want to let everyone know that after this Thursday, you might not ever know that it's Thursday again, but it's Thursday.
Yeah.
Possible. And let's see. We got a couple emails here, guys. Things are a little slow today. Does Time Warner services come through your equipment? I was told my phone service from Time Warner comes through my Conneaut telephone GreatWave box. Why would this be? I also understand that GreatWave bought into AT&T. Is our cell phone service here controlled by GreatWave? Are there any Time Warner TV services that come through GreatWave equipment?
No. No, actually, let's again trying to get both of those issues. One is we have nothing to do with anything that's Time Warner branded services. So when we deliver telephone, internet, cable, that's over our own wires and only our own wires, nothing else. Where the confusion might be is a show like AM Live when we produce it in our studio, we send it to City Hall to the Cable Advisory Board, they then split it, send it back to us for insertion on Channel 6 on our system, and then send it over to Time Warner on Channel 19 so that people, no matter which cable provider you have, you can see the show every day. But we do not, Time Warner does not deliver phone over our wires, we don't deliver ours over theirs. Two completely separate networks, and they do not touch for the delivery of service. As far as AT&T, Conneaut Telephone used to own a percentage of the local Alltel wireless market, and when AT&T bought that market, we got out of that business. So we have nothing to do with that, other than my cell phone was an Alltel phone, so now it's an AT&T phone, so we pay our phone bill to AT&T for cell phones like anybody else does. But we exert no control, have no interest in AT&T.
This is from Gunnar Michaels. I'll take the call first.
Okay.
Hi, you're on the air.
Morning.
You're on the air.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi.
Morning.
Pat, this is John Brady.
Hi, John.
Hi, how you doing? And as president and representative of NAR, Unit 43, I want to thank you very, very much, you and your company, for what you've done for us locally.
More than welcome, John. It was a pleasure to do that.
And thank you very much for working so diligently with our communications officer, David Harlicker.
Dave is a good man.
Yeah.
Well,
again, thank you.
you're very welcome, John. Thanks for the phone call. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, the president of the Railroad Retirement.
Yeah, they're railroad retired workers.
We had switched to Time Warner Cable due to the internet dropping nonstop, being billed for long distance. Now, this is kind of fragmented, but
Yeah, we'll try to piece it together.
we were signed up for a bundle which covered unlimited long distance and had a serviceman damage a new washing machine, stepping on it, getting into the attic to fix the splitter. The problem was never fixed and didn't get a recall for the damage to the washer. I think he's pointing his finger at us, but I'm not sure.
I would say on that, send me a letter, with the incident and the information. First time I've heard about it, or anything like that. Other than like when we built the cable system, when occasionally we find a sewer line with our wires through it. But no, I've not heard anything like that in quite some time. Or ever, really. So.
Okay. Our phone number here is 593-7181. You're more than welcome to call. Ken will stay around if you get phone calls.
And while you're, sitting there processing, I want to make clear, I told Pat that I want to make sure that he got an appropriate send-off because, I didn't want to just come on one day and go, the show's over, bye.
Right.
So I wanted to talk to him early, give him some options, let him at least make some choices about his destiny. He's exercised his choices, and that's between him and I as to, where's that between? Yeah, him and I. I'm going to get my grammar correct there. What those are. But I told him I definitely wanted him to get a victory lap a la Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and these superstars. So I have amassed through our some of my contacts with the pro sports teams and a couple of cable networks. So I got a little stash of prizes. I'm waiting for the last of it to come in today. So we're going to get that over to Pat for tomorrow. So what we're going to do is tomorrow will be, Pat will be on. Coming out of the holiday, we're going to do an interview, I think, over the holiday weekend. You'll see it Monday, is Ray Fogg, who's one of the largest builders of corporate office space and warehouses in the greater Cleveland market. You might see his sign when you're walking through Cleveland Hopkins Airport, but he grew up several years, went to high school in Conneaut, and has fond memories. So I had a chance to interview him last year, so I think we're going to play that interview on Labor Day morning. Pat will be back Tuesday and Wednesday with the hospitals, and I think Wednesday will be Pat's last show, and then I think Thursday and Friday we're going to do two best of shows and go back and show some of the great moments from the 7.5 years of the show. And then, if there's an alternative ready to go, then Monday, September 14th, you'll see that new and different format. If not, then probably you'll see cable access programming from City Hall. But Pat will have significant prizes to give away for the next 3 days in his farewell tour.
This from James Bailey. Would you ask Ken, who pays for his trip to California when he covers the Oscar Awards, does he use company funds or does he pay for those out of his own pocket?
That is a great question, and I'm proud to answer that. If you watch the coverage on YouTube, and only about 12 people ever did, so, but it's still out there, you'll see the name of sponsors up there. So I've had one of the guys that I do a lot of, one of the directors, let's say, of the company has accused me of being the cheapest traveler in the history of the world, and actually has gone so far to think I'm part of some organized crime ring that I get free stuff all the time. But basically what I would do is hotwire a hotel room on hotwire.com for about $100 a night, maybe 5 nights. We perfected the art of flying to Las Vegas for about $200 round trip, renting a rental car for about $25 a day. And so what I would do is leave after work, like on a Monday or Tuesday night, fly to Las Vegas, get a car, stay overnight at like $30 at Circus, and then drive 4 hours through the desert over to Hollywood, stay there for 2 or 3 nights, do all of our video, drive back, stay for another $30, drop off the car, hop the plane, and get home. So all in all, maybe it costs about $1,000. So what I would do is I would make a couple of phone calls to ACMC, Media One, the lodge 1 year, CBiz, the HR people, and I'd sell them an advertising package for like $400. My goal was to get 4 advertisers at $400. Then I would split the money with the company. The company kept $800, and I'd take $800 for my travel expense. Then, because it wasn't anything I could justify as critical business, I would take vacation, my own vacation time for the trip, but using the company's angle of media to get a chance to, go to the academy and be on the red carpet and stuff. And so answer is vacation time out of my own. The company actually profited from the nonsense, and then I kicked in the rest. Typically my daughter went with me, and I would pay 100% of her costs. Like the hotel is the same price, whether in the rental car, so it was really another airfare. So yeah, it's documented and shown that actually the company profited from that.
Good morning, you're on the air.
Morning, Pat. Good morning, Penny. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning.
And Ken, right now you're about the evilest person in the city of Connie.
Well, let me ask you this, though.
And I'm not going to pull punches with. Now, wait a minute. Just let me talk.
Go ahead.
And I'm just going to say that right straight out front. And I just want to say, for me personally, I want to thank you for producing and paying the paycheck to have Pat on the show. He's been a real good friend of mine. I've enjoyed his shows over the years. I've watched them all the way through. And so there's not a lot I can say to you because I believe you've already made your decisions. So we can sit here and banter things, and I can call you bad names and so forth and so on. And Pat knows from talking for me that I'm sitting right at home and I'm watching the message on the thing that the broadcast is going for required weekly counting test. So I really am not looking at your face, but I just want to thank you for putting Pat's show on the air.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It's been a very good thing for the community. Pat's a good friend of mine. I've known him for years. I've known his father. He's known my father. We've been real good friends, and I'm not going to sit here and badmouth you because that's not going to do any good. But I just want to thank Pat and thank you for having him on there. I wish there was some way we could continue having him on there. I come home every day. I watch the show every single day.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to thank you for that. And
like
I said, I'm not going to sit here but you are the most evil person. You're almost as bad as when LeBron James went from Miami.
There you go.
Whoa.
Thanks, Tommy.
Do I need to send you a jersey with my name on it to burn?
I just want to say that I appreciate the fact that this happened.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom.
Okay, Pat, and you can never get away from me because I know where the heck you live.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate
That's
it.
awesome.
Bye-bye.
No, the only thing I was going to say there is, as vilified as I'll be, and I get that. I mean, it goes with my job. Again, when you're the agent of change and you think you can see in the future a couple of years and you go, uh-oh, we need to do something drastically different. Everybody's like, what are we doing? Just keep going. But I just try to remind people that, yes, I'm the one pulling the rug on Pat. But you have to remember, I was also the guy that stepped out back in the day and took the flack for starting the show. So what's the book of Mice and Men? That you got to have the courage to kill off the things that you create or are responsible for. So, yeah. It's not easy, but again, I don't expect anybody to feel sorry for me either because that's my job, that's what I get paid to do. We're going to do it. But that's the reason to come on the show, is because, want people to be able to have their say, get a little catharsis, and, go through the 7 stages of grief and, work their way to, if the show is off the air on September 14th, that, they can find a way to cope in spite of it.
Now's the time. If you want to talk to Ken, you want to say anything, now's the time to do it.
And I don't want to belabor stuff or sit here and I mean, after a while, you know, the eulogy is over. People have lunch and go home from the funeral. So
Yeah.
I'll probably stick around for about maybe another 5 or 10 minutes, and then
Okay.
I'll let your viewers start the victory lap for you, and I'll go check and see if our last prizes have arrived. But I got QVC gift cards. We got some Cavaliers finals gear from last year, a couple of finals programs, and some autographed Indians memorabilia. So we got some cool prizes for the next 3 days of shows.
Good. Hi, you're on the air.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi.
Morning.
Ken, I would like to tell you that I have known this telephone company since Mr. Repose
Yep.
was the head of it.
Yep.
And if you look back, I don't think there has ever been any furloughs. I wonder if you're moving a little bit too fast. I know you're a smooth talker. That's okay. That, I guess you have to be when you're in a position like you are. But I just, are you truly thinking of the lives and families of the people that have built this company, the workers? They're the ones going out and doing the work.
Can I pause you right there?
Yeah.
Okay, because this is a great conversation to have. When I don't want to patronize you, so because my temptation is to do a Socratic question and answer with you to let you arrive at the conclusion. But let's think back to the days of Ray Repose and my predecessor, my mentor, if you will, Tom Picard. If I was to be Socratic or be a little bit coy, I would say, okay, during Ray's tenure as general manager or that of Tom Picard, how many competitors did they have in town for local phone service? And the answer is 0. When I started in 2006, there still was not a competitor. Now we compete head to head with Time Warner. That has an effect. That's nothing I did.
Yes, and all that said, like I said, I understand you're a real smooth talker, a fast talker. I just hope you go home tonight and think about, is everything about money, or is it still about people?
Well, but the point is,
Without money, you can't play people.
yeah, if the company doesn't have adequate cash coming in to pay its bills,
Right.
then you lose people. I mean, that's my challenge, and I get it. It is not an easy crown to wear, being at a 118-year-old company, especially with the storied history that it's had. The second question I was going to ask you in the Socratic method is, when Ray Repose was general manager and Tom Picard was general manager, how many people owned a smartphone? 0. They really didn't come on the scene until about, well, maybe toward the end of Tom's tenure, maybe in 2005, 2006. The reality is, in terms of the number of people that, I mean, when I was first hired back in the internet department in the late 90s, we had almost 9,000 local phone lines in our town. Today we have 3,200. So what I look at is, in spite of that huge upheaval in the key pillar of the company, that was the only thing we did prior to 1991 was be a telephone company, and yet you look at the number of people still employed, they're making more money than they did when I became general manager. We've had to do a couple of things.
Most people
What's that?
making more money. Am I correct? We're questioning each other.
Sure.
Can I get in the middle of this just for a second?
Sure.
Sitting here listening to this whole thing, the one thing I think everybody needs to remember about any business today is that technology and everything is changing faster than you can keep up to it. So if you're not ahead of the game constantly, you're behind the game before you even get there. So it doesn't matter whether it's the phone company or it's General Aluminum or it's the Conneaut Art Center. It doesn't matter. Technology is changing so fast today that you have to project and look ahead way more than you ever had to before, because you can't keep up with the changes in technology. If this company is going to stay viable, they have to be ahead of those changes, because once that happens, they're already behind the 8 ball. So I'll give you the credit that you have to be ahead. This is a totally different world than when those other men were in charge. Today, people that run businesses, it's a totally different world than it used to be. Sit back with your ledger and write down your income and your expenses, and go to the bank, and it's a totally different world in there.
Well, I
so
guess,
please understand that it's not the same as it was back then. It really is different.
Yeah, I guess what I
and
was
I'll defend that part for you.
Yeah, but that's even more crystallized when you start looking at just the telephone industry. I mean, don't take my word for it or think that I'm spinning this in my favor. Go Google it. Go look at the number of telephone companies that are out of business. My predecessor.
Let me interrupt again. I will Google it if my internet provider lets me. Okay? Thank you. Have a great day, and I hope you sleep well at night.
Oh, I do. I do.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just want to, just a little story to go with that. You all know that credit cards are changing. That whole technology is changing quickly. And I'm little beans in the pot. But just in changing our credit card machine the other day, the choice that I had, by the time I get it, it's almost going to be obsolete just to take care of what's going on right now. Because now, not only are they changing their credit cards, but you're going to be able to do these Apple Pays and all these other things. So the machines that are out there right now, in another year, are going to be obsolete. So you're paying money to have a machine that's only going to last you 9 months, because technology is changing so fast. And for the little guy, you almost can't afford the change as quickly as it's happening. So that's what I was trying to verify, is that this is a totally different world that we live in.
Yeah, it's a crazy business.
Morning, you're on the air.
Pat, I forgot to say one more thing before I left off the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for listening.
Gotcha, buddy.
That's for my old friend.
Yeah, for Pete. Thank you.
Yeah, let me go back to the lady caller. My only point there was the telephone industry. I mean, even from a regulatory standpoint, that whole business is not what it was even 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And so my burden, why I sleep well at night, is because we have built fiber optic cables to other parts of the county and are bringing in huge chunks of revenue. And this summer, I was able to go out and find about 850, actually over $1 million of revenue to funnel into the company by doing some construction work. And I worked as many hours as any employee. One project was really high priority, and I was out there with them at 8:30 at night pulling fiber in the conduit. I was out Saturday mornings doing engineering. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And, so yeah, I know it's difficult for people to comprehend the change, but like Penny's saying, the equipment that we put out in Bushnell has been out there since like 2009. To put in new equipment is like $100,000, and that's just the piece of equipment that sits in the shed. Then we got to have $1,000 per house in electronics, plus all the fiber that connects it. So it's really a matter of me focusing on what the core business is. And because I'm thinking about the employees and the shareholders, just got to be a wise steward of every dollar.
Good morning, you're on the air.
This is Sharpie.
Hey, Sharpie.
Sharpie.
About 7 years, just a while ago. I was on that show with Ken Grun before Pat Williams' show. I've been on that show for over 7 years myself. And I get so depressed when they say 26 policemen were murdered and volcanoes and fires and wars and murders all over the county. I just get sick of it, so I quit advertising for a long, long time. But I'm going to miss Pat Williams' show, and you're talking about all these electronics. I hate them. China. There ain't nothing in this house made by General Electric or RCA anymore. Nothing.
Yeah,
It's all
you're
made
right.
by the Chinese chinks overseas.
Lord.
I don't like my house to be in the change, and my house is not in the change. So I don't know what we're going to do when that show goes off. I don't know what you're going to do. Maybe make pizzas in the fireplace there.
Yeah.
How about that idea?
There you go, Sharpie.
But
Hey,
Sharpie, I gotta tell you,
I don't like it whatsoever. Change. I don't like changes at my age, 85 years old. Even the cars, I can't even say their names. Handoogie and Toyota and Kamikaze. I don't know what their cars are. Not even making Oldsmobile, Chevys, and Hudsons and Plymouths no more. Everything's changed. What the heck's going on?
I know.
Okay,
Thanks, Sharpie.
that's enough of
and
that.
Sharpie, just so you know, that fireplace isn't real.
Oh dear. That's another change we'll have to
There
do.
you-
Okay.
Thanks, Sharpie. Bye-bye. Got a real
No
nice,
s'mores here.
a nice memo from Jerry Orlando. Wishing you all the best. Thanks for everything you did for myself and our Orlando brothers, Gold and Don. You'll be missed. We had a great time. We had great times on the radio and TV. The man, the myth, the legend there, Jerry Orlando. Thanks, Jerry. Got this question from Mr. Bailey. I switched from Conneaut Telephone to another service. I wanted to keep my 593 number, but I was told I could not have it back even though I had it for over 40 years because Conneaut Telephone or GreatWave has a monopoly on 593 or 599 and 594 numbers. Is this true?
Here's the deal. If you cancel our service, let's say you go to another service provider, wink wink, and you sign the paperwork, they come in and do the install, or you know they're coming, so you just cancel our service and wait for them to show up. Once they get it all hooked up and then you come back and talk to us, you can't have that 593 number. However, had you signed the paperwork with the competition and requested that your number be, the word is ported, then they would have set us a service order to say, hey, send that number to us, which we do. Now, if you switch to them and then end up discontinuing the service, in order to keep everything organized, they by law have to return that number to our pool, and we cannot take a non-working number and send it over to the competition. We can only do it if the phone line is still active at the time and the request is made by the other service provider. But see, then that segues back into the whole economic question, which is people in town switching to the competition and thinking it doesn't affect us. You know? So,
I have a question.
Wait, we gotta take a call. Hi, you're on the air.
Good morning, this is Linda. You know, at first I was very, very upset, but as I watched your show today, I understand the reasoning for what you're doing. I know Pat's going to be very well missed in the venue that he put out for everybody, but you have to go on, and so people, you know, are going to have to be happy right now with what's being done. Maybe down the line, you can bring your show back when
Absolutely.
you get on to making money and everything. So I'm going to miss you, Pat. I'll see you around town, and you, Penny, and everybody else. But have a good day and enjoy your rest of your life.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you.
Vacation, you need to go on a vacation with Michelle.
I better do that.
there you go.
Thanks,
Okay.
Linda.
And everybody, good luck. Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Linda.
That was really sweet. Thank you.
I have a question real quick in between.
Yeah.
Speaking of, this is just an arbitrary question, has nothing to do with anything. When a number is disconnected and it no longer belongs to someone, how long do you keep that number before you can reissue it? I don't know, it just...
See, you got to understand, I'm the smooth talker. I'm not into the details
Okay,
of all
I
that.
just wondered, it just
But
when
I
you were
think
talking
it's
about
something
that.
like 90 days or 6 months,
Oh,
something
really?
like that.
That's all?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not real long.
It just was a question that came up when you were talking about
Yeah, but if you disconnect it, we can't then reconnect it and send it over to a competitor. The only
I
way,
getcha.
the only way an existing number goes to the competition is if the competition requests the move while the service is still active.
But I just wondered how long a phone number, you know,
Yeah, I think
no
it's
longer in
90,
service.
160 days, or 180 days, something like that.
Okay.
Morning, you're on the air.
What, how are you?
Good, Mark.
Good. Hey, quick question. Your email, Cable Suite, does that go to your house too?
Yeah, I can get it out of my home. Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna keep up with the movie because you're gonna be very fast, and I want to keep up with you somehow. So I'll just send you an email.
Okay.
All right. Let you know that it's me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Have a great day.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, like I said, I don't want to, keep the funeral going more than I need to. So I'll maybe take one, maybe two more questions, and then I'll get out of the way and let the audience get back to chatting with the host and
the co-host.
and.
Before you leave, Ken, I do want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this job. 7.5 years is a long run, and I think we did pretty well with that. We raised a lot of money for charities and different things, food pantry and that sort of stuff. But I appreciate what you and Jim Suplee did to get me the opportunity to do this. I wish everybody had a chance to try this out. It's great. It really is. It's been fun. And certainly there's no hard feelings here. We're friends and we'll be friends for our lives. Again, thank you very much for that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's the show. I mean, I'm sad because in some ways, and like you say, I really haven't used anybody else's name only because I don't want anybody else to get caught up in the controversy, and I like to be the grounding rod when there's negativity going on. But yeah, I mean, Jim Suplee and I had talked, 2 or 3 years, I think even before the cable system was built, we had gone and looked at video equipment and dreamed about producing a show. But again, we could just never really justify the focus and the money. And then when I became general manager, we had a nice little upswing, and it was time where we could maybe try something. And what I did was pull back our marketing dollars from other sources, kind of pooled that together to produce the show. And there was some other folks internally, so it wasn't like Ken woke up one day and went, AM Live, I'm a genius. It was a lot of other people, and I usually like to try to cover my backside, if you will. So I, counsel internally. So we ended up getting the first camera, the first mixer board. We were all excited upstairs in the little office.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I mean, and it's had its detractors, and there's been the gruff, and we've had a couple of toe stubs along the way that we didn't see coming, and probably Pat and I both would do things just a hair differently going back at certain junctures. But all in all, it's been a great forum for the community. It's been a great water cooler, which was the idea. We wanted to spice it up with some Cavs highlights and the Oscar stuff, and just make the community feel legit. And I think, Pat, you've done a great job of that. Of course, the guest hosts, whether it's over the years with Chuck Guglielmo and Tom Udell, Steve Grant, Kathy Pape, Penny, it's just been a great combination of personalities, and each kind of handing the baton, on down the relay. So it's been a great ride, but I think it's time.
Hi, you're on the air.
Hey, Pat.
Yeah.
It's PT.
Oh, PT. Hi, buddy.
I just wish you best of luck, and I want to give him a break. He's going to be from arthritis back up on a fast budget. Anyway, I want to wish you a Penny and every best of luck. I've enjoyed it very much. You're the only source of information dissemination in this community. And I sure appreciate it, as I thought before that, from everywhere. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, PT. I appreciate that, buddy.
Wish you the best of luck.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
He gets some analgesic rub for his shoulder with him.
A little bit of a connection problem there with that, probably a cell phone.
Yes,
a little problem.
All right, well, Pat, I'm going to get out of the way. It doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of other questions, and probably everybody's annoyed by hearing my voice by now, so I'm going to get back to my day job. But again, thank you so much, and I'm going to try to pop by on Wednesday just to maybe ride out the last 10 minutes with you.
Okay.
But we'll get you a list of prizes, and then tomorrow start giving them away.
Okay.
All right. Thank you much.